Welcome to Heal the World Show podcast, brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Parmelia Parham, and I'm the founder of the Healing Institute. We are an online, worldwide hub of holistic practitioners, and we really want to make a difference in the world with health and healing. We want to give people hope. We want people to know there are ways to be well and stay well on their health journey, because let's face it, we're all on a health journey. And I've created the podcast so that I can invite some amazing guest co-hosts to come and have a conversation around health and healing, around their particular expertise. Now, the reason that this was important to me is we did have a tragedy in our family a few years ago where my mom passed away at a very young age. She was only 61, and it was due to a complication because she'd been on a medication for a very long time. And unfortunately, we didn't know that that medication, being on that medication for a long time, could compromise her kidneys. She passed away on the 15th of December. It was right before Christmas. I was 5 months pregnant with my son, and I just don't want it was not just a tragedy that she died so young, but also that my children didn't get to meet their grandmother. And I just don't want that happening for anybody, any other families. So I created the Healing Institute, and I call it an institute, which sometimes people think they're going to get classes and courses, and maybe we will do that eventually. But I called it an institute because I'm really passionate about educating and about educating people about how to be well and how to stay well from a holistic point of view. And I've certainly used holistic ways to be well for well over 30 years, so I know that they work. And that's what our practitioners do. They get to the root cause of what's going on with you. It's not a symptom. They don't just look at the symptoms. They look at actually what is happening. Why is that symptom showing up? Which is, I believe, why our medical model we've had for the last 50 years is no longer working, because they just looked at symptoms. So that is who we are, the Healing Institute, and we invite you. The QR code that you see beside me, you can scan that and pop into the Healing Institute website and connect with the practitioners that we have right now. So I decided May's theme was going to be women's health, and we've had some amazing co-hosts on the show this month so far, and I am so delighted to have both Kristen Morel and Melissa Deely here with me today. This is, I've been doing this podcast for about a year and a half now. This is actually our 93rd episode. I was like, whoa, 93. We've been doing that many. Yeah, Melissa is a integrated health practitioner. Kristen works with functional health, and she's also an embodiment coach. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of functional health, including detoxing, because Melissa and Kristen both are very, very knowledgeable about detoxing and about cleansing and how we need to do that on a regular basis to keep our health right at the as best as we possibly can. So welcome, both of you. Melissa, do you want to begin and just tell us a little bit more about what you do and what's happening in your world?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me, Parmelia. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because it is so important to educate. This information isn't taught through our public health system, our public school system. And I didn't know it when I was in the corporate world. And 10 years ago, I was let go from my job and very much guided into the arena of health and wellness. And when I started learning this, I realized, wow, I'm in my 40s and I don't know this about my own body. And they were just small little things that I started learning. And over the last 10 years, I've done a lot of training. And it is my passion to bring this information to others because without our health, what do we have? Man can have 1,000 dreams, or woman can have 1,000 dreams until they don't have their health, and then they have but one, which is to get healthy again. And I like to talk about health span versus lifespan. Let's
Love
be healthy right to the end of our life, as opposed to look at the lifespan. Oh, our lifespan's getting longer. Great. However, the average North American is spending the last 10 years of their life in a nursing home at extravagant cost. And it doesn't have to be that way. So I jokingly call myself the friendly toxin slayer, and I help people detox their physical body, their emotional body, their mental body, and their spiritual bodies. And unfortunately, we live in a toxic world with over 100,000 man-made chemicals introduced since World War II, which is not even 100 years ago. And they're getting into our body through our airways, our waterways. You know, we just go out on the street and we get car exhaust fumes on our skin that gets into our bodies. We go to the drugstore and we buy skin creams and all sorts of personal care products that are generally regarded as safe for each individual ingredient, none of them tested in combination or for daily use. And there's toxins in those, and we put them on our skin and they're in our bloodstream in 26 seconds. Toxins are getting into our body through our waterways. We can't avoid it now. And so I say, don't worry about it. Instead, do the best you can of what you can control. And that's where detoxing comes in. An actual detox program that allows your body to release the toxins and get them out of your body.
So important. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
important. And the reality is that the three major causes of chronic illness today, and chronic illness is running rampant, that are high toxic load, low nutrient uptake, and stress.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about that high toxic load. That low nutrient uptake is because of the Industrial Revolution, creating all the machinery in order to mass produce, in order to feed the planet with the best of intentions, except that we're now doing it at a level where the nutrients are no longer being able to be regenerated in the soil. And if they're not in the soil, they don't grow into the plants that we're eating, and they're not getting into our bodies. So we're not getting the nutrients that are required for our body to turn the toxins into being water soluble so we can actually release them from our body. So we live in this toxic world, the toxins are all coming in and the body can't release them because of our low nutrient uptake, even when we're doing our best and making all of our meals at home and buying organic, which is why our body, our liver needs help to get these toxins
So
out.
important. Yeah.
And what happens when we don't get them out is our body is incredibly smart and it is designed to heal and it wants to keep us healthy and it doesn't want those toxins in our bloodstream. So it stores them in our fat closets. Well, our brain is largely made up of fat. In women, our breasts are predominantly fat. I don't know about you. I don't want toxins being stored in my brain or in my breasts. And what's the correlation to all of the Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, et cetera, et cetera?
That's a question I've been asking, you know, why all of a sudden is there this, and this is my word, tsunami of dementia and Alzheimer's? I don't remember, you know, hearing about that much when I was growing up. But now thinking about, and now that there's the new science has come out kind of to the population where we can now read about the correlation between gut health and brain health.
Yes.
And now it makes sense as to why so many people are suffering from those diseases.
Exactly. And the toxic load, and it is a chronic disease, and there are lifestyle factors that we can change in order to prevent ourselves going down that path.
Yeah,
And that's what
absolutely.
I wanted because my grandmother lived to be 101 on her own, in her own home, caring for herself right to the end. That is health span, fully mobile, fully cognitively functioning. So I knew that I have good genes, and something inside me went, is that enough? And then I started comparing her life to my life, and she was born in little old Christchurch, New Zealand, bottom corner of the world, growing all their own food on the property, all organic, etc., before all of these toxins were introduced. And meanwhile, I was blessed to grow up in Tokyo, Japan. However, manufacturing plants were spewing toxins all over me. So I knew that I was more toxic and I needed to do more. And that's when I started to learn about the body's detoxification process and how our detox channels can get clogged and overloaded because the body can't release them if it doesn't have the nutrients to turn them to be water soluble so we can get rid of them through our urine, our bowels, our skin, and our uh, saliva, and our mouth, and our sweat, etc., etc. So that's detoxing the physical body. And then I use a powerful technique called timeline therapy, which is working with our unconscious mind, again, our body's ability to heal, right? In order to release the 7 major negative emotions and other ones, if necessary, of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, and shame. How many people are carrying around a bag of rocks of stuffed down emotions because society told us we're not supposed to feel them? We're not supposed to bring our emotions to school or to work, and boys don't cry and big girls don't cry, and all of that programming we got as a young child. Not to mention the programming of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable, I'm powerless, it's not smart enough, not pretty enough, not clever enough, etc., etc., etc. All programmed in those early years in life. And we don't have to keep living that. We can actually rewire our neurology and release those emotions, release those limiting decisions.
So important.
What I talk
Of
about
course,
detoxing.
yeah, very much similar to the work that I'm doing with the
Yes,
body code, where
yes,
and we have 60 trapped emotions that Dr. Bradley Nelson created, the chart of 60 trapped
yes.
emotions. They're all negative. So you don't want to have those stuck in your subconscious, and your unconscious mind. You want to be able to be as, healthy mentally, emotionally as possible.
And as you well know from this work, when we have all of these trapped emotions in our body, over time, they cause dis-ease
Dis-ease,
in our
yes.
body.
People
And
don't think about that. They don't think about they don't think about the correlation between our emotions and our physical.
Mhm.
But now we do have a lot of people that are writing books, that are telling us about, like Dr. Bruce Lipton. You've had him on your podcast, and Joe Dispenza, talking
Deepak
about
Chopra.
how that makes such an impact. Yeah,
Exactly. And the medical model doesn't look at it. They stop at the physical body,
yeah.
and they stop at the symptoms. And the other thing that I find very interesting again in our societal programming is we're taught to tough it out, to push through, to keep
Mhm.
going. In other words,
Mm.
ignore the symptoms. However, the symptoms are our body's way of talking to us.
Yes, our body's telling us
Attention.
something's not right, so we have to listen.
Exactly. And the sooner we listen, and the sooner we pay attention, the sooner we can do something about it. And the healing process is so much shorter than if
Mhm.
we ignore it for years and years and years. And then the last piece of my work is aligning the spiritual body. And it's an alignment rather than a detox. And working with clients as we go through this process and determining, are you fulfilling your mission that you came here to do in this
Mhm.
lifetime? And are you filled with passion for whatever it is that you're doing? Or are you in a job that is, killing your soul and sucking you dry, and you hate it, and you're there because you think you need the paycheck? And you don't realize that if you get on the path to your mission, that everything's going to be in flow and aligned so beautifully, and the universe will provide you the resources that you need in order to fulfill that mission. And you don't have to be in this soul sucking job. And so,
Well, and the whole idea of purpose, which seems to be not a new word, but a word that we're talking about more often, about our purpose and what is our purpose and what might that be. That was a big aha for me when I first started studying energy work for myself. And I had never really thought about my own specific spiritual purpose. At the time I was a wife, I had 2 small children, and I was a mother and a wife, and had a job that I was not crazy about, but as you said, it brought in some income. And that's what I thought my purpose was. And it wasn't until I was very fortunate to meet a young woman who wrote a book about purpose, that when I was reading that, it was like, oh, I could have more than just sort of this tangible piece of what I
yeah.
thought I was.
Yes. And you were guided to finding that book at the time that you were open to being aware that if you read it, there was more, as opposed to just reading it at a very surface level and putting it aside on the shelf. And that's what we call shelf development versus self-development.
Oh, I like
So,
that term. Well, thank you so much for
yes.
explaining all the things that you do. I know, the work that you do is absolutely amazing. I'm now going to ask Kristen to tell us a little bit more about what you are doing with with functional health and as an embodiment coach. What does that mean? What do you do as an embodiment coach? How do you help your clients?
Yeah, so the functional health part is very similar to what Melissa was talking about, looking at stress levels, looking at toxic load, healing the gut, because if we neglect the gut and we don't heal the gut first, then all the detoxing in the world is just not going to do us any good because everything just gets reabsorbed. And really bringing the body in to alignment from kind of more of a scientific perspective. But with embodiment, it speaks to kind of the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect that you both touched on, because we can be reading all the things and we can be checking all, doing all the protocols, but if we're neglecting the spiritual side of us, that energetic side of us, also, none of that is going to do any good because we're still going to be manifesting the dis-ease. So with embodiment coaching, it's really getting into the body and seeing and feeling like, where are these different emotions being held? Where is the energy getting stuck? Where can I release things? And what is it my body needs? Because we get information overwhelm all the time. All of my clients, every single client that has ever come to me, the first thing they say is, I'm just really confused.
Yeah.
I'm so confused. I don't know what I should be doing, what I should be eating. And also there's a lot of fear. I'm terrified to eat this way because this scientific report, this research paper says do not eat meat. But then this research paper says if you don't eat meat and you eat only plants, you're basically, you're going to die. We're all going to get cancer. We're all going to die. So it's really getting in touch with that intuitive side of you and understanding what your individual unique body needs. What is it asking for? What is it craving? What does it need from a physical, like everything from physical movement to your purpose, your spiritual purpose, to what is it that, is right for your body to eat. Getting really, really, really in touch with that body and knowing at all times what it is telling you, what it is wanting, what is it needing. Because all of that is so intertwined and so connected. And when you're talking about cleansing and detoxing, that's such a big part of it is understanding, okay, what do I need to cleanse myself right now? Is it actually a detox, like a full-blown detox with the supplements and the dietary protocol, or is it, I need to detox myself from all the negative emotions?
Yes.
I need to
There's
release
different types
all.
of detoxing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. So
Absolutely.
we hold things differently. We hold things physically, we hold things energetically and spiritually. So it's bringing it all in and knowing what you need at any time. That's the embodiment part of
I
it.
love
Getting
that part.
getting
Yeah.
into the body.
And
Yeah.
everybody is individual, as you said. So it's very important for you as an embodiment coach to be able to identify and work with that client as specifically what they need. And not, it's very similar to our protocols is we don't do a cookie cutter. And also both,
Yeah.
you have to have you have to know what the client is needing and looking for. So Marie's got some good questions here. Let me see if I can just, so she's using my word of tsunami. What if the tsunami of toxins, etc., is part of the evolution of the human body? What if everything past, present, and future is for us, including what is happening with our human bodies? What are your thoughts on these questions, and how could we, as holistic practitioners, embrace and support evolution in a positive way?
Mhm.
Hadn't thought
I
of that.
love that
Evolution.
question.
Do you
I
want
love that
to go
question.
first?
Yes, if I go
Kristen?
ahead.
Sure. I feel like that really brings in the fear factor too. We tend to be like, oh, there's so many toxins. We have to detox ourselves all the time. And we have to eat a really healthy, clean diet. And we have to get all these products out of our house. And we become very fear-based. So how can we embrace the evolution? That is such a good question. I think that it really is about doing the best we can and also trusting that we are being provided for. Um, Mother Earth is going to provide for us. She is going to provide us everything we need, from our food to our medicine. I have a hard time embracing like Oh gosh, this is such a good question. A lot of the toxicity is related to this greed aspect.
Mhm,
And I think we are in a world that needs polarity. So the
definitely.
toxicity comes from greed and, the need for more power and more money and convenience and all of these things. So from a spiritual perspective, embracing the polarity and finding a way to rise above it and just bring others up with you. I think that's the best way I can answer that one.
That's a great answer. I know my energy teacher taught me many years ago as you know, we can only really work on ourselves. So, but as we are raising our own level of consciousness and vibration, we in fact are raising the vibration and consciousness of the world. So, you know, it makes you feel somewhat empowered that even you're doing it and you're working on your own and you're doing, you know, your yoga practice or your meditation or whatever you're doing for yourself, your journaling, your gratitude, you still, by doing it for yourself, you are assisting the rest of the world.
Yeah,
Melissa,
there's a
how do
ripple
you think,
effect.
how would you like to answer those questions? Maurice Gold's got great
I love
questions.
I love the questions and I love how Kristen answered it. And it's as I said earlier when I talked about all of the toxins that have been introduced, that we don't worry about that. We do what we can. We look after ourselves, as you've both said, look at what we can control. We can't control the spraying of crops and the fact that they're being blown all over the world. And yes, Kristen, that is all about money, making more food to, sell in the stores and putting chemicals in the food so the shelf life lasts longer, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't go into fear about that. And I teach my clients not to go into fear about that because we have tools that we can use and we can make the choice for ourselves to do the best we can with detoxing. And it's not 0 to 100 going into panic. I have to do everything all at once. It's doing it in
Mhm.
stages. And I don't believe people need to waste money either. If you have skincare creams from the store that you look at now and you go, oh, there's some toxins in this, that's okay. Finish using it and then use the time while you're finishing using it to research cleaner products
Mhm.
and change things as you go. I do believe everything is happening for us, and I do believe in the body's evolution. The problem with it is that this has happened so quickly in
Yeah,
less than 100 years.
Mm, mhm.
yeah.
And the body takes longer in evolution. So it's happened so quickly, the body can't keep up, which is why I do encourage people to do more right now. Do what you can. And we can't just sit back on our laurels and do nothing in this day and age, because then we do get into a state of toxic overload and that causes disease.
Mhm.
However, if we do what we can, every little step we take helps. And when we take proactive action and know that we're doing the best we can be in a mindset that is also very positive and out of that fear based state. Because guess what?
Mhm.
Fear tanks our immune system, it throws us into stress, and
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
also a contributor towards disease. If we're in a mindset of, I'm doing the best I can each and every day to look after my health and my body, and the old Emile Coué of in every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. If that's our approach, then guess what? We will be getting better and better every day.
I love the fact that you brought in mindset, Melissa, because that is so very, very important. And I believe we're just still at the sort of the beginning stages of understanding how mindset impacts us
Mhm.
on everything that's going on with us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it is so important to look at what your you know what television shows are you watching, what are you reading the newspaper, what what news channels are you listening to, what's coming at you from now we're hearing about there's so much fake news out there, so uh, is it fake or like what kind of news is it? Like how would you know the difference if if you're not being discerning and really doing your research? I mean, I stopped reading mainstream newspapers probably 25 years ago just because the headlines were always negative. And
Fear
as I
based.
was starting my growth,
Fear-based, yeah.
yeah, my growth journey, I didn't want to have any negativity any more than, what was happening already. So
Yeah.
it's really it's a decision that we have to make.
Mm.
It's important to always be curious and always be asking, where is this coming from? If you are being introduced to a medication, for example, make sure you check the side effects, make sure you really understand how in fact the allopathic medical model is going to impact you and whether or not that's a good thing.
Well,
And I
that's
know,
also like asking questions, right?
yes,
Get really
absolutely,
curious. Ask all
absolutely,
the questions, even if you feel like, oh, I shouldn't question this. I shouldn't question my doctor. Question everybody.
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And
I
Melissa and I have
mean,
had previous conversations where we both have um, said no to allopathic ways to treat us. And it wasn't taken well by the doctor, certainly the doctor that I had at the time. But it's important because I knew my body. And I knew I didn't have to go on that particular medication. I knew um, how I could holistically change up whatever those numbers were. There was actually cholesterol numbers, and at the time, and I thought, no, I'm not going on a medication. I know how to get my cholesterol back into the right range, and it wasn't that out of range. But that's another thing that I was going to mention earlier is that it's what we're not taught how to really analyze our own bodies. So we need to learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And both of the work that you are doing is helping your clients and helping people understand their bodies and listen to their bodies and then know when something is not quite right. And really, if you have, as people watching or listening to this podcast, any idea that something is not right going on. You know your body best. You're in it. So, if there's something going on that you just don't feel right physically or even intuitively, then yeah, as Kristen said, ask your questions, do your research, find out what's happening.
And to
Yeah.
that point too, Parmelia, I think we've been taught not to ask questions and we've been taught to disassociate and disconnect from our intuition.
Mhm.
So we start second guessing and questioning everything. It's like we
Yes.
get this feeling, like this deep knowing that something's off. And we tend to know what that thing is that's off, but then we second guess and we question. And that's when we turn to the outside sources for the healing or the prescription or the protocol or whatever it is.
You're so right. Yes.
absolutely,
Marie,
100%.
Marie's
And
got another great question here. Doesn't it seem that fear seems to be toxic all by itself when left unchecked and unacknowledged and not integrated?
Yes.
So true.
Yes.
absolutely,
So true.
So
absolutely.
true.
And so that's why the media, they know that. I
Yes.
stopped watching the TV news over 20 years ago. And think about it. You've got all the dramatic story, you've got the coming up next, some fear-based headline, and your brain is trained to look for fear to keep you alive and keep you safe. Except that we don't need to run away from lions and tigers anymore because we're
That's
not
right.
out hunting
Yes.
our meals, right?
Yes.
And yet they're preying on that programming, right? So when we just turn it off, then guess what? We don't have to be in the fear state. And this was so true during the entire pandemic. And I started
Yes.
doing daily meditations for people online that they could just come and calm and we could get them out of the fear. Because if they've just been glued to the TV all day, this many people died in this country and this many people died in this country, et
Yes.
cetera. It was all on purpose to get people to follow the program.
Yes.
And because there was so much unknown at the time,
Yes.
in early 2020, there was so much unknown. An unknowing can be very fear-based.
Yes.
And the media, all of the local media, not just local media, but all the media really that's what they do. That's what they do. They
Yeah.
take that fear and then the next thing you know, it's multiplied 100-fold, if
Well,
not.
they know we get drawn in, so therefore it increases the ratings. So
Yeah.
it's serving their purpose, it's not
Yes.
Right.
serving our purpose. And I would
Right.
rather bring it back to the fact that our bodies are designed to self-heal. End of
Yes.
story.
Yes.
And the body
Yes.
can do that when it's in balance. However, a body that's out of balance out here where we all are in today's world for the most part because of high stress, poor sleep, low nutrient uptake, toxic load, the body can only do so much. It only has so many resources. So something has to give. And when we fuel our body the way that it needs to be fueled, as Kristen said, what's unique to our body by getting in touch with our intuition and understanding how it wants to be fed, for some people, being vegan is exactly what they need in that moment, at that time in their life, and it can
Yes.
change. And for
Yes.
someone else, maybe it's vegetarian. What isn't true is that all humans should be on the exact same diet, right? So
Yes.
the diet
Yes.
industry wants us to believe that you all have to do this diet or you all have to do this diet. No, our microbiomes are as individual as our fingerprints
Yeah.
and go back 4 generations on our mother's side. So where did your great-great-grandmother live?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes,
That's what your
Melissa.
microbiome wants.
Yeah. On
And
the
then-
land, lived on the land with
Yes.
their own
Exactly.
food.
Yes. And when we going back to the fear, Melissa, I love everything you just said. Like, yes. Going back to the fear, though, the fear actually creates chemical reactions in our body.
Yes.
And Melissa had said, like, those negative thoughts, like we need to cleanse and get them out of us, but we need to get the fear out too, because it creates our negative thoughts and our fear create chemical reactions that get stored in our body just as an actual physical toxin does.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think people
again, I
realize
love
that.
what
They,
you're both saying, and it's just so important, the work that you're doing, because you're available and helping people be able to identify what they need, what
Exactly.
specifically they need to be healthy.
yeah.
And I love what you said at the very beginning, Permelia, that we are all on a health journey.
Yeah.
Yes, because if we're not on a health
Mhm.
journey, we're on an illness journey.
Yeah.
Which one do you
Mm.
want to be on?
Ooh.
I say let's create a proactive wellness society. We've been
Exactly.
in reactive illness society way
Yes.
too long. So
Yes.
let's
Yes.
be proactive and let's create this wellness society. And the work that we're, that you are doing and that I'm doing, and the holistic practitioners we have on the website, what we're all doing is really helping to do that. We're creating a proactive wellness society.
Yes.
Well, this has just been a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for both of you to pop on here and talk about what's so important. We have a vision with the Healing Institute to create this community, and we are a community. That's the way I describe our platform is different from other wellness directories because we're not just a directory, we're a community. All of the practitioners get to know each other. They get to know. So when a client's coming to our platform and connecting with one of us, they actually get all of us. They may decide they want to check out, Marie does conscious breathing. She has a fabulous breathing process she takes people through, or they might decide they want to talk, they might connect with me for body code. But when we are having the session with that individual, then we can refer them to all of the other people that are on the platform, because that's why we are a community. And we want to be able to give the client that's coming to see us the best possible ways that they can be well and they can stay well. Our motto is service with love. We really believe in that. And we have a big ask. So for those of you who are listening or watching, please let your communities know, let your families know, let your colleagues know that we are here. The Healing Institute is here to help you on your health journey. And again, thank you so much to Melissa and Kristen for being my guest co-host today. This has been delightful, and we will be back next Friday on Heal the World Show podcast. It's another, I think it's our last Friday of the month of May, which is Women's Health Month. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks everyone for joining us.